Thank you. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you to this distinguished audience and to Landmark Ventures for having such a good, interesting crossfire discussion on both the evolution and the revolution of technologies that we see. Minds like yours can shape the tomorrow, and minds like yours are not in the business of incrementalism. You're here because you want to achieve step gains. How do we drive those step gains? Anthony talked about digital labor. We know that can you replace carbon-based to silicon-based workforce? In what measure can you replace that? Could you augment it? Could you displace parts of it? What results can you achieve? What are the real ROIs? How much of it is hype? And what are we really experiencing? And what are the challenges? We know this is the biggest driver for quantum efficiencies. But how to do it, it's varying degrees of success that all of you can recount. So let's try and see if we can take advantage of the fact that we've got this distinguished audience here and try to pool our thoughts together to see how could we start to realistically think about a digital workforce and drive some step gains in our operating environments. So I'll start by, there are only a couple of slides, so I won't bore you to death. So the first is very obvious. You guys live it. Your knowledge of this way dwarfs mine. It's the same cost, NPS, and better control. Every operating chief has got the same challenges. Can you drive a better promoter score? Can you drive a better cost efficiency? And can you drive an improved control through the use of digital labor? Because we know digital workforce can be a lot. AI is, of course, the McKinsey estimates the market is going to be 14.6 trillion with a T, with an impact of about 5.2 trillion year-on-year basis in the coming years. So we know that that's where the world is heading towards. The question is, can you drive these step efficiency? Can you ride on board this digital express train? So how do we get these trifecta of costs and NPS and improved control? Let's really have a healthy discussion about that in the 7 minutes that we have left. So you say, oh, we can achieve a lot in 7. So let's say what the problem is first, let's say. The problem is that you've got 1,600 AI companies. Gartner covers about 1,600 of them. And by the way, all their marketing material reads exactly the same. Do they do machine learning? Absolutely. Do they augmented empirical learning? Absolutely. Do they have advanced semantic role labeling? Absolutely. Can they do syntactic parsing and natural language analysis? Absolutely. Every one of them actually reads exactly the same. So you have a really challenging task in front of you. What do they actually do? And what do you actually see? And what are you actually being able to achieve? The challenge that you have is that 99% of what you find in the market, take insurance. I'll tell you, we deal with, from Nationwide, we have met MetLife today. We know Nationwide, MetLife, AIG, State Farm, Allstate, Guardian Life. In fact, you can't find many large insurance companies that don't work with us. What are the typical challenges that they have? What are they experiencing? Now, is a user coming into MetLife and saying, please give me auto insurance? Is a user coming in to MetLife, and I've got a distinguished gentleman from MetLife right there who's shaking his head vigorously, and I know why. Because nobody is coming in and saying, I want to add a member to my policy. Nobody is coming in and saying, I would like to file a claim. You talk to NTT Global CIO, and he'll tell you, happy case scenarios are 14% in the industry. The challenge you face is that all of these AI technologies today handle happy case scenario. They take what you are saying, and an NTT CIO says that we are living in the world of IVR 2.0. You talk to Chris Fitzgerald, and he'll tell you that it's just we are taking the same thing input, we're translating it with a very thin veneer of a support vector machine, not even a deep neural network, shallow network, mapping it into one of the buckets, and producing the song whichever plays. So instead of making you say, press 17, press 11, press 13, press 4, IVR's failed, we're faking it. We just put a very thin veneer in front and say, go ahead, speak what you would like to say, but what you say, I'll still bucket it into one of those. It works fantastic for happy case scenarios. How's the real life like? I've given this example for a good reason, because this is a MetLife example that you know too well, just recently, this morning, and I'll tell you, I just broke up with my ex-boyfriend. The rate that I was being accorded when I was on a plan with him was $78, less than the rate that I'm being accorded today as an independent driver. Why, when my driving record is superior than his, would I have to pay $78 more? That's real life. Try and bucket that. That's the problem you face with artificial intelligence solutions today. You really cannot fake it by putting a thin veneer of shallow neural networks and trying to map it. What you need to do is to really deeply contextually understand, and when you start to see those things listed, you really need to understand in an end-to-end way, what is a person saying, a deeply contextual understanding of it. You need to have a stochastically switched flexibility that you experience with a human workforce. You need to have empirical learning, observational learning, and you need to have a multi-threaded capability so that you can context switch around and work with the flexibility that you have users experience when they're talking to human agents. That's the reality of the challenge that you face. So when we look at the challenge and we see that the solution that we need is realistically cloning the same as human intellect, and that's the way IVRs are an abysmal demonetization of what is a human intellect, and I've studied this for about 3 decades now. So the next big thing when you have actually implemented this thing, you will say, I need to now start operating with my digital workforce, and I need to drive efficiencies. Now, when you start driving these efficiencies, you find that you have tons and tons of automation agents that exist outside. You have got your RPAs here, you've got your monitoring here, you've got your log scrubbing here, and you've got your Elasticsearch here, and you've got some shell scripts here. So if I'm looking at think about the bionic symmetry to your organization and human body. I'm running an RPA here, I'm running a shell script here, I have back office, another tool here in the back office. I've got Leonardo running on this side with an OEM-based automation tool. The challenge you have is, now that you have said, I want to be able to create a human equivalent, how do you think you will function as a human if you had all these disparate pieces? Do you think you'll be able to function efficiently? Or are we missing something for driving unique efficiencies? Are we missing a central nervous system? Every organization serious about driving radical automation and digital workforce efficiencies in their organizations needs to have a central nervous system of automation. That's the glue that makes you the efficient engine that you are. It's the cognitive layer on the top, which is your brain, with the autonomic spine in the back, to which all extremities of here's my RPA, here's my Leonardo, here's my OEM-based, here's my shell script, and here's my back office automation, is all tied together in an end-to-end fashion. Without end-to-end fashion, look at the bottom line impact you are able to achieve with your digital workforce. Less than 6% on an average. If you're serious about radical efficiencies, as Landmark has distinguished itself in providing, you are seeking 35% plus efficiency gains. You need to have an automation spine, tie all these disparate pieces together. And if you think that this is a mirage, Anthony has been involved with us. I would invite you to come and experience this end-to-end digital automation spine that actually interconnects, the automation of all automations, that actually interconnects all the different automation tools at a summit next week, which is the Digital Workforce Summit, and see for yourself what BlackRock, what Franklin Templeton, what Vodafone, what McGraw-Hill are able to achieve through this end-to-end automation framework. It's called Digital Workforce Summit, and it's on May 8th. Thank you very much for allowing me this privilege.